And on today's podcast, we were fortunate enough to have a very talented guest. With a bachelor's in business administration and marketing and a master's in economic development and entrepreneurship, she's been able to climb through the ranks of the Brazoport Small Business Development Center and become the director. Through her doing so, she has aided many local businesses to achieve their goals and grow their success. Please welcome Jennifer Finney. Woo. They told us we can't clap anymore, so it messes up the mics.
Yes.
So I wanted to start by asking you to share some insights with the current state of local businesses in our area. How are they doing? How are they faring? What are they struggling with?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I really appreciate having the invitation.
Thank you for coming.
And being able to share whatever knowledge I have. To your question, the local, say it again, it's the...
How are the local businesses in our area doing?
I mean, it really depends on the business, right? They seem to have been recovering fairly well from the COVID pandemic, and thankfully with the government assistance between Paycheck Protection Program loans that helped keep people employed, and also through the emergency disaster loans, those were also really beneficial to a lot of our clients and a lot of the companies that are here locally in the Brazoport area. So they were able to recover, to maintain and then recover. We did lose some businesses, obviously, but part of that I think is just a natural ebb and flow of business.
Yeah. Do you think that's a good thing? The weeding out of businesses that just don't really work?
I mean, it's never exciting to see a business close, right? I don't enjoy watching businesses open and then close, because you know that they've put their heart and their soul and their finances on the line to do that, right? And it's really tough when you see a business close. So I don't really consider it weeding them out. It's just they took an opportunity, and that's the cost. Sometimes.
Yeah, I've learned in economics 1 and 2, or microeconomics and macro, that
I was just about to say that's probably where that's
where my brain is, because entrepreneurship is all about risk. Because if you're not willing to risk it, then you can't be one. Right. Following into the next question, what are some challenges that business owners face when starting or growing their business?
So probably one of the primary challenges is really just having the funding in place. So we see a lot of business owners, and that's probably why a lot of businesses close, to be honest with you, is that there's no funding. They don't have the cash flow to start. They're not fully capitalized to begin with, and when they're not fully capitalized to begin with, it can be very difficult. If you just have enough to open, or you just have enough to break even, it's really hard to make any money, let alone grow a business by putting anything back into it, because you still have to pay your bills. You still have personal expenses and bills to pay. And so that's the one thing that I think a lot of startups don't take into consideration.
Because I think about it, they have to pay for their own home rent, and then that place they already are having their business in. It's like double the rent. Oh my goodness.
So when local entrepreneurs come to the SBDC, how can they expect to be helped?
So typically when they come to the SBDC, we help in 3 ways. So because we're grant funded, we're a partner of the SBA, which is the Small Business Administration, and they have a cooperative agreement with the state of Texas, and so the state funds us as well as the federal government, and so we run that grant through our office, and that allows us to see all of our clients at no cost. So anybody that wants to start a business, or is already in business, or wants to grow their business, we're here to help them, guide them, provide them resources, education, training, and also that one-on-one advising, which is, I think, the key to what we do, is really that one-on-one advising and really helping to customize a solution that really fits for them. And also sometimes have those hard conversations like, hey, this isn't gonna work, or we need to adjust this plan. A lot of times it's just helping them see their vision on paper. It's really, a lot of what we do is helping them get it out of their head and actually get it on paper between figuring out the actual finances involved. A lot of people get really surprised when they figure that out. And then actually putting it into a plan, like a business plan, which I help them with a lot of times. I can help with the financials as well. But it's really that one-on-one counseling piece that helps them really take their next steps. And then, of course, the resources we provide between making connections through our referral network, whether that's to lenders, different banks in the area, even referrals to accountants and attorneys and stuff like that. Yeah. I just clapped. I hope that doesn't mess things up.
You didn't clap too loud. It's okay.
I think we're good. Whenever they do get to that point where they have their plan on paper and they're ready to go ask the bank for a loan, what is the bank looking for whenever?
That's a good question. I just reviewed this with somebody. So basically they're looking, yeah, it's fresh on my mind. So, I mean, there's a lot of steps to starting a business. And of course, one of those steps is to figure out what the funding is going to be. And so there's different ways to fund your business, whether it's crowdfunding, grant funding, funding from family and friends. I always say, what is it? The three fools, family, friends, and fools. The three F's, family, friends, and fools. But obviously, there's lending from a lending institution, whether that's a commercial bank or a local community bank, or even what we call a sort of a nonprofit institution that's a community development finance institution. And so a lot of times banks will refer us clients. They'll refer clients to us. And those are pretty much ones that we just need to work the stuff, help them with their business plan, put it on paper, help them with the finances, and then send them back and then they're a loan.
Good go.
But typically, I'm helping, what is a bank looking for? A bank is pretty much going to run them through the 5 C's of credit, which includes character. Character is really looking at, your credit score, your credit history. They're checking to see, how responsible are you with the debt and the credit that you do have. Anything over a 700 on your credit score is considered pretty good, especially when it comes to getting a business loan. One thing that people don't understand is that they think they can go in there as a business and borrow money just as the business, but really everything is backed up by your personal credit. So you have to personally guarantee everything. And so that means that you have to have a good credit score, a good credit history. You have to have good income and the finances, the capital to go in there and actually get a loan. Yeah. So the 5 C's, you got character. That's where they're looking at your literally your character. How do you manage your finances? What is your contribution to the community at large? And that's pretty much sums up character. Then you've got capacity. What kind of capacity do you have to pay off this loan, regardless of whether you ever make a dime, right? So do you have any funds outside of the business? That's where couples that come in, a lot of times I advise that if one of them needs to work full-time in the business, the other one needs to keep their job full-time. A lot of times we recommend that people keep their full-time job and do this, part-time as they grow. But that's going to be capacity. And they're looking at your personal financials, everything that comes into the household. Character, capacity, capital. So what kind of capital, what kind of cash, how much cash do you have to bring to the table? You can't get a loan. This is another misnomer. A lot of people don't realize that when you go to a bank, you can't just get money. It's like borrowing a car. You have to go with a down payment ready to go. You have to have cash. So if you need $400,000 to start a business, you need 20% of that. And 20% of $400,000 is $80,000.
Don't ask me. I'm not the right person.
And so, I mean, if you need that much money, do you have that much money to get that much money in the first place? So don't come to me asking for $1 million loan if you don't have $500,000, or if you don't have, the 20% that's sitting over there ready to go.
I didn't know that.
Not $500,000, but 200,000 is what you would need. After that, so it's character, capacity, capital, collateral. So they're looking for collateral. And that is going to be a value that can be used, something of value that can be used to guarantee the loan. So if the bank has to call the loan, like you default on the loan, they're going to take, and you put your goats up for collateral, they're going to take your goats, right? And I've actually seen a local community bank do that. So,
Wow.
I mean,
real.
it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
But they'll
goats.
use all kinds of things for collateral. It just needs to be an asset, right?
Right.
Equipment, inventory, things that you buy. So a lot of times they will collateralize the equipment you buy or real estate you buy. And then the final C is going to be conditions. Why this answers the question, why this business, why right now, and why this person, right? So you have to have some sort of experience in the industry if you expect to get some kind of loan out of it. So if you want to start a daycare, please have daycare experience or at least teaching experience. If you want to start a coffee shop, then it's a really good idea that you've been a barista at least at some point in your past, right? So that you have some sort of idea of what's entailed in the business. You're not just gonna go in there and start a business because you love drinking coffee. That's totally different than actually getting up early, opening the store at 3 o'clock in the morning, and then actually serving customers.
No, because I'm a coffee addict. I can say that the least. But I never knew. I've always wanted to be a barista, but I didn't want the money for a barista, like the $8 they get. So I was like, oh, let me volunteer. So I volunteered at this small Catholic church coffee shop, and it's the best experience.
It's the cutest little coffee.
Cute. She's been there. It's so cute. People are so nice. You never get rude customers.
Yeah.
On the other side,
So I'll bring Mary when I go get my loan.
And then I also serve on the side as a bartender and a server, and those are, you just get the rudest people. So it's just so nice to have an enlightening experience where people are actually kind in the community. You're like, oh shoot, there are kind people.
Right.
And then moving on to our next question, does social media or digital transformation, how does that affect a small business today?
Well, I mean, it really depends on the type of business. I mean, we usually recommend that every business have at least a website, regardless of social media presence, because any social media can shut you down for whatever reason they want, right? That's considered a third party. You don't own that content. You don't even own those followers. If you want to keep track of your followers, you need to have your own email list, and that's where digital really comes in. You need to have an email list. You need to have an online presence as far as your own website. Google My Business if you're a local business. If you're an online only business, well, you definitely need to have some sort of digital presence. But as far as social media is concerned, I mean, social media is, it's always changing and always evolving, and it's so difficult to keep up. And so we usually recommend that people at least pick one platform,
What's your favorite?
Would you like Facebook, Instagram?
I mean, it really depends on where your people are, right?
It's true.
If that's where understanding who your target customer is makes a huge difference, because if your target customer isn't on Facebook, then you don't need to be on Facebook. I mean, I usually recommend that people get on Facebook because it's probably the highest, when you look at the stats, which you can get on Statista or Pew Research. Typically we'll publish stats every year about social media engagement and social media membership, like how many users there are. And so those change yearly, but typically Facebook is always the front runner. You got YouTube up there, and then all the others just kind of trickle down. It just depends. But I always recommend that somebody pick a platform, either which one they prefer or which one that they think their customers are on.
Yeah, and the best thing is you can connect, I've learned this over my fitness page, you can connect Facebook and Instagram and they'll just post at the same time. So then it's just wonderful. You don't even have to do double the work there. So
yeah. If you want to use the same content, I mean, you have to be careful because, I mean, that's the thing, right? Instagram is there for the beauty pics, right? The beauty
the
and
aesthetics.
The aesthetics, and you speak a certain way to that audience versus Facebook. It's a totally different audience. Yeah. So you might talk differently to Facebook. So it is a good idea to consider, changing up your message and actually posting. You could have the same visual and post two different, similar content underneath the copy. Yeah. So because you're talking to a different audience on Instagram that you're talking to on. Your
Yeah.
Instagram audience is typically going to be younger. Your audience on Facebook is not necessarily going to be younger. So,
I'd be older.
yeah.
Why are small businesses important for local economic growth?
Because small businesses employ over half of the nation's workers. Small businesses make up 99% of all businesses. So without small business, it would be very difficult to grow our economy. And so it's really important that for small businesses to thrive, you need to live in a community that supports small businesses. And we are fortunate to have that community here in the Brazoport area for sure.
What differences do you notice in a community that supports their small businesses versus one that doesn't?
It's about having programs and having,
Like the SBDC.
programs like the SBDC or places like the college where they can come and do community education and learn how to grow a business. It's about having, really good programs to incentivize businesses to be there. So, for example, the city of Freeport has a grant program where they'll help you with, most of them are reimbursable programs, but they'll give you a grant for 50% of the cost of, fire suppression if you have to, update your bring it up to code, because there's a lot of old buildings in Freeport. So there's a lot of there's a need there to bring buildings up to code, and in order to do that, they're trying to incentivize businesses to come there and locate there. Same thing in West Columbia has a grant program as well, and a lot of the programs, so does Sweeney. A lot of them are to fix facade, to fix the look, the grounds, the parking lots and things like that. It's a beautify grant, but at the end of the day, those programs are there to support those small businesses. And when they're not there, you see towns get run down, you see dilapidated buildings, you see gravel parking lots, stuff like that. And it's just, and you see businesses leaving. And when businesses leave, you lose that tax revenue in addition to the income that it brings for those the business owners, as well as the employees that they, the jobs.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really important that small business be not only supported, but that we shop local and that we provide that support as consumers as well.
I think you're so right in it being something that you can feel within your community.
I feel like there's more kindness. There's more you can feel like, if it like this small community, like I came here and everybody was so nice. Like I came from Pearland and I was like, Pearland people are mean. Like they're like, get out of my way when you're at the grocery store. People here are like, oh, how are you? I was like, I don't even know you, but you're asking me. And I was just thought like this community is just different. Like you can feel it.
I think starting a business is scary regardless, but I do think we live in a great area to start one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so moving on to small businesses, what advice would you give those entrepreneurs that are wanting to start small business?
Well, the first thing I would say is you need to find your local SBDC, wherever that is, whether that's here at the Brazoport College.
Come find her.
Or anywhere. So the SBDC is a national network. There are over 1,000 SBDCs nationwide, including all the territories. So Puerto Rico and Guam, they're everywhere. The goal is, I believe that they want to have a small business development center at least an hour's drive from wherever a small business is. Okay, so when I went on vacation last year, we went to New Mexico and we stopped in Roswell, and I was like, I wonder if they have an SBDC here. And I looked it up, and sure enough, there was an SBDC. And same thing with, and so it's fun to think of. And I've actually gotten calls from people. So like I worked with a lady recently who wants to relocate her business here from California. But I could tell her how to do the things here she needed to do in Texas, but I don't know California law. So I looked up the California SBDC nearest her, and I referred her to that. And so she went ahead, and when I followed up with her recently, she had set up that meeting in the California at the California SBDC, so she could learn how to close her business properly in California prior, as she moved it here.
And my question is this like a nonprofit, or do you have to pay?
No,
Maybe
it's all free. So
really,
well, it's no cost because it's all funded by tax dollars, right?
Okay.
Because it's a grant, so it's a federal grant. It's primarily a federal grant. It's combined with state dollars.
Okay.
And that allows us to offer all of these services for free.
That's amazing.
I know you spoke about some people come into the SBDC and they want to start a business, and you kind of have to be like, well, these are the realities. So I was just wondering, what are the common misconceptions? There we go. What are the common misconceptions that entrepreneurs have when they come into the SBDC?
I think one of the biggest problems that we have today is the idea of, starting a business is not a get-rich-quick scheme, right?
No.
The idea of the laptop lifestyle, just, you can run your business from the beach if you want to, but you're going to get sand in your computer. So, those are the kind of things that we, for sure, I just really need people to understand that starting a business takes work. And it's probably the hardest thing you're ever going to do in your life is starting a business and running a business, because you've got to learn how. You're the one setting up all the processes. You're the one developing all the systems and putting them in place. You're the one wearing every single hat, from accounting to marketing to sales. And if you don't like sales, then you might as well not even start. You got to figure out if you even like it, because there's a method, right? My brother had a business, and it was a great business, but he was a bad salesperson. And so he had a really hard time keeping the sales coming in. And then he was a IT guy. And then he got stiffed by a client and almost lost his house. And so he had to get a real job. It's not that wasn't a real job, but he had to go get a job that could afford him the income that he needed to just pay his bills. And that's why I say it's really about looking at your whole lifestyle and going, can we even afford this? Can we afford to start a business right now? Can we afford it even with a loan? Can I afford to pay a loan if I never made a dime? The other thing is people will come in and say, I'm not here to try to make money. I'm just trying to do, and that's what business is. You need to want to make money.
I was like, what's the whole point if you're putting yourself out there?
So the other thing is they get started. Some people, a lot of times they jump ahead, right? So they're 5 steps ahead of where they need to be. And they've already done all these other things. They've signed a lease. They've ordered supplies. They've, opened the restaurant and not even got this, health permit or certificate of occupancy. I've actually seen that happen with a grand opening ribbon cutting. And then the fire marshal saw it on Facebook and came by and shut them down after their ribbon cutting, because he said, you can't be open yet. I never gave you an occupancy permit. So
That's awful.
Business
That's
owners,
really awful.
The thing is, business owners don't know what they don't know, right? I don't know everything, but I sure have a lot of resources.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're here to do, is to help you find and connect with the resources that you need as a business owner to really start to get a good idea, to understand the real cost of starting a business by going through those steps to determine how much money is it actually going to cost? How much money is it actually going to cost to break even? Because it's not just how much sales can you make. And that's the thing that I see a lot is people come in with sales projections and that's it. It's so much more than that.
And then going on to that, how would you allow entrepreneurs to stay motivated while having like a hard time on their business?
I would say reach out to friends that also own businesses, connect with your local chambers. Just connecting with other business owners can help not only feed you new ideas, right? But they can also help and also with us, right? Obviously, we're here from the start to the finish. I'll be here to help. Sometimes I just listen in a client meeting, right? Sometimes that's just my job, and just give advice based on what they've just told me. The thing is to keep somebody motivated. I mean, motivation comes from within, so it's really hard unless you're self-motivated. You got to be really self-motivated to keep a business going, and otherwise it can be really difficult. And if just paying the bills and keeping your house is motivation enough, then actually, but really you need to set goals.
Yeah.
And if you're going for those goals, then
you should stay
that
motivated.
should keep you stay motivated. I mean, it can be hard, but if you can find it within, for sure.
To those clients that do stay motivated and they're there for the long term and they go on to start their business and they're doing everything that they can, what are those contributors? What do they have in common?
Grit. They probably have a better idea of their financials than people who don't. They're doing the work that's required, like keeping track of your accounting, right? I think that's one of the biggest areas that we see deficient for our clients is they have no idea what's in their financials. They're just tracking sales and nothing else. And if you're not looking at the whole picture, then it's very hard to be successful because you don't know how to make strategic decisions if you're not looking at the data.
Yeah. Because if you're making sales, then what about your balance sheet, your income statements, your inventory, your everything else that comes along with it?
Yeah.
And then going on to that, when in the same industry as larger companies, what can small businesses do to remain competitive?
To remain competitive, so one of my favorite books, I was telling Layla, she needs to read it. It's called, but it's out of print. But I read it in grad school, and it's actually, I think I have 2 copies of it. But it's called Up Against the Walmarts. And one of the things he talks about is how do small businesses compete when you've got Walmart and Amazon, and because you're not competing on price, right? I mean, there's all different sorts of competitive strategies out there. So, but one thing you can do is set yourself apart. Just make sure that your customers are taken care of.
Yeah, you said those relationships.
It's about building relationships. It really is. My dad owned a restaurant when I was growing up, and he said to me one time that people noticed if he was there or not. People looked for him. It made a difference if he was there. And so I think that's the other thing is being present in your business. And we have a lot of clients that come in and they just want to start something and then hire people to run it. And that's not an easy, well, it's doable. I mean, it's just, it can be hard when you're trying to develop a local presence.
Yeah.
People want to work with people.
Right.
Yeah. So you have to have really good people.
People skills.
If that's your strategy.
Yeah.
What should business owners, as well as you're the director, how do you stay updated on trends?
That's a really good question. I have so many emails come into my inbox. I keep track of all sorts of data. So I watch things like consumer price index, the producer price index. I watch those because I know that it's going to ultimately affect my customers or my clients. I'm watching inflation. I'm watching unemployment. So those are the statistics I'm watching just on the one side because I need to understand it from a macro level because it's ultimately going to make a difference in this micro level, right? So I'm watching all of those. I subscribe to lots of different newsletters like Social Media Marketing World. They do a good newsletter to help you keep abreast of all the social media changes coming in. Financial news.
There's a lot.
There's just so many. There's so many. And I get a lot from from just industry research that I do. So that's another thing that we do is research for clients. We do market research, we do industry research. And so I can just go into IBIS World or Vertical IQ and look at either local data or industry data as a whole and see how industries are doing in general. So I just try to keep track like that. I attend various events I try to stay connected to the community through chamber events and other, volunteer activity. Just trying to keep myself plugged in so that I know what's going on.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You're clearly a very knowledgeable director and advisor.
Well, thank
that
you.
I'm sure everyone is so grateful to have you, especially for free in the community.
Yeah.
But if you setting that director part of you aside, what do you like to do for fun? You as hobbies, you with your family, your friends?
For fun, well, right now I've just been binge watching The West Wing for the second time. I know that's terrible. No, but I like to read. I like to listen to podcasts. I'm kind of a podcast junkie. I usually listen to something when I'm getting dressed in the morning.
What kind of podcasts do you like?
Or I'll listen to books. Right now, I am listening to The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, and also I like true crime.
Hey, I love true crime too.
And I've been listening to a podcast on Amazon Prime called Morbid. I know that's terrible. Don't tell my pastor. Anyways, it's a fun one. It's crazy to hear all these crazy stories, but yeah, it's sort of an escape. It's like a guilty pleasure. I just listen to that,
Yeah.
And then like my kids, this week we watched Young Sheldon.
Yeah.
We'll watch episodes of different shows or whatever, but we don't really. I mean, I wish I did more for fun. I have tons of books to read.
So are you more of like a hardback, or are you like an audiobook kind of gal?
It depends on where. I do audio a lot, okay? But I don't mind reading it as well, right? So my problem is I'll find a good audiobook and I'll be like, oh, that's so good. And then I order the hard copy because I want the stuff that goes with it. And then I never look at the hard copy.
Just listen.
And so I do that a lot with like business books or, because I'm like, oh, they're giving me strategies. Great. And then I never look at them again. But as far as like novels, I like holding them, so I'll read the paperback. But when we were on our trip, we took a trip to Florida, and I downloaded a book on Apple so I could read it on my iPad in the car because I had finished my other book.
Yeah.
So that way I got to read something.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
Before we wrap up things, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and for helping our community. Because like you said, like me and Mary were agreeing, you can definitely feel when a community has strong small businesses and they're wanted and there's programs to help. So thank you on behalf of all the community.
Oh, well, you're welcome. Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Right before we end, I have a quick lightning round,
Ooh,
if you're willing.
I also have something to say before
go
you
ahead,
start
go
the
ahead.
quick lightning round, because after that we're done.
Okay.
But I also wanted to say thank you for like coming on this show, and like you showed me a lot, because I'm actually going to UVH to get a master's in accounting. And so like you said, like accounting is part of the portion of a business that people are missing. So I feel really good that I'm like going into that area, because after having some years in accounting, I do want to start my own business. So following that question, would you still be available? Like, is it free as a student, like as a non-student in the future?
It's free always,
like
regardless.
Like if I were to come to the college though, like, and be like, hey, like, I need some
that's what
help starting a business.
Everybody comes to me at the college. That's the thing.
Okay.
It's a community. We serve a community. We're outward focused, right?
Okay.
Most of the people I see are not students.
Yeah.
They're just people from the community coming in.
Really?
Yeah, they're just people from the community. They're the ones that have the money. I'm sorry, I love you students, but y'all are broke.
Very, very true. Very true. But yeah, I was like, I wanted to fund my business through accounting. So I'm like, okay, I feel like I'm a little ahead right now. So I was like, that was my thought line.
No, that's great. And you can actually come meet with me, and I can give you a lot of different tools to help you as you plan.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of things involved when you're planning. So if you're already thinking that far ahead, absolutely, you can put a plan together now to think what you want to do, right? And plans can change. It's just a plan.
Yeah, because I was thinking I'm gonna do like a minor in entrepreneurship just to like get
They
some
have a
knowledge.
great entrepreneurship program at UVH.
Yeah,
So,
that's what I was thinking. Well, thank you so much. I just wanted to ask.
You're welcome.
And then now we
I've
can.
had the fortune of sitting in for a couple of her clients, and so far the most on it couple that I've been able to sit in with the lady, the woman, the wife, she was an accountant. So
See?
you'll do great.
Ah, well, thank you. I'm a lone wolf, but
No, the accountants are great because they're the ones that get the punch list done. They're the ones that do the. I'm like, here, just take the spreadsheet and make your projections.
Like you said, they understand.
And it's
the
easier
numbers.
to talk to because they know. Yeah,
they know their finances.
Yeah.
And
The biggest issue is making time to work on your business, not just in it.
yeah,
That's key.
that's key.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, go ahead.
Okay. Lightning round. Are you ready?
I guess.
Okay. Just a couple quick,
I gave you
easy
the idea.
questions. She did.
Wait, you're the reason that she does lightning
I said,
round?
you should do a lightning round. That's so fun.
Before one of our podcasts, like the earlier ones.
Because
she
Ray,
was like,
you gave Ray one, and he was like,
Yeah.
what?
Because I told her we were starting it. She was like, you should do a lightning round. I was like, that is a great idea.
I was wondering where you got that idea from. It was so random.
My boss.
Because I got it from a podcast that I listened to.
No, it was good. This is a good idea.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Invisibility or super strength?
Super strength.
Business casual or business professional?
Cash.
Iced coffee or hot coffee?
Iced.
Do you possess Riz?
The size is everything.
Think skibbity-doo.
There you go. You're the only one that has known what Riz is, so.
Yeah, so far. So thank you for that. If you had to start a business this year, what industry would you join?
If I had to start a business this year, what industry?
It could be hair, nails,
Anything?
grocery supplies.
I'm like, it's all too hard. I don't want to start a business. That's why I work at the college.
It's like I like helping others. I don't want to do it.
If I had to start a business,
If you had to, what industry would you like to join?
Oh, she's never thought about this.
I don't know. I don't think about it because I don't really want to start a business. I mean, I could help my husband. He does CPR, and we could start a CPR business. I could also, I've been helping my son. He's 14, and he wants to restart up our lawn business. We used to have a lawn business, and he's trying to make money. I told my daughter she wants to, honestly, okay, wait, here we go. I know what I would do. I would do drop shipping. I would build a website that does e-commerce, and I could do drop shipping, but I just have to find the right products.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Vampire or werewolf?
Neither, she said.
What? What? Vampire or werewolf?
Yes.
Werewolf? Probably vampire.
Vampire?
I like her.
Favorite book?
What kind?
Anything. Just your favorite.
Or you could give one professional and one like fun.
I love the book The Help. I've actually read it a couple of times.
It's a good book.
And then professionally, most recently, one of the ones that I highly recommend, Adam Grant wrote a book. He's an organizational psychologist. He has a great podcast called Rethinking. But he wrote a book called Hidden Potential.
Okay.
And that was one of those that I bought and have at home. So that's a really good book.
Awesome.
Hidden Potential. It's about rethinking how we view ourselves and others and what we are absolutely capable of and what we're not. Wow. Versus what we think we're not.
Oh, I gotta get that.
Yeah, it's so good.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Favorite show?
Favorite show right now, The West Wing. Because that's what I'm watching.
What's your ideal vacation destination?
They asked me this recently. Ideal vacation destination, I've always wanted to go to Europe, like Paris or Italy.
What's your favorite color to get your nails done?
She's a pink girly.
See that?
Show the camera.
Pink. I like pink.
And lastly, who inspires you?
Oh, that's a good one. Who inspires me? No, I'm
No,
thinking.
she's just too many people.
It is
This
too many
is
people.
her
I'm thinking,
children,
like,
her
my
husband.
family.
There's
Yeah.
yeah.
That's literally what I was saying. I was like, is it my kids?
You could
Is
say
it
as
You
many
could say
people
whoever
as you
you
want.
want.
Doesn't have to be one person.
Oh, yeah. Well, my kids would get mad if I chose one over the other, so we're not doing that. I was going to say my grandfather inspired me a lot. He actually, He probably passed along the entrepreneurial gene, actually. He was a missionary in the Philippines for over 50 years.
Really?
And they went over there in the 40s, right after the end of World War II. And he said when they were sailing through the harbor the first time, before they even hit the island, he said you could see Japanese Zeros sticking up out of the water. And
Wow.
so, like, that's how close to the war. So they went to the Philippines and they set up camp there. And yeah, he was an amazing, inspiring man. So yeah.
What type of business did he build there?
A missionary. He
Oh,
built,
straight up. Just
no, okay. Well, I'll tell you. You want to know?
Yeah, of course.
He initially he just found a piece of land and like literally started clearing it off. And was like, this is where we're going to take care of the kids, right? So he built like 3 orphanages. He ultimately, and so they were called children's homes. They called them children's homes, not orphanages,
Which is
right?
nice,
Because that's,
yeah.
And then they had 3 high schools so they could educate them. And then they had a seminary so they could, you know, because he's a missionary, right?
Yeah.
And so that way they could train. His whole goal was to work himself out of the mission field.
Yeah.
So they could train up their own pastors and preachers
Yeah.
to go out. He built a hospital because my grandmother had multiple injuries and they were so far from Manila that she would have to take a bumpy car, not even car, like a horse-drawn carriage, like Carabao ride down to Manila, and it would be hours and hours. Like she broke her arm in multiple places,
Oh
and
my gosh.
once, and she, you know,
Imagine the bump and moving the arm on the way there.
Yeah, lots of different issues. So he got a hospital built. He you know, got the funds to build a hospital. He got the funds together to build a radio station so he could broadcast sermons. He got the funds together ultimately to build an airstrip in their community so that they could actually fly from Manila in.
More
yeah.
than entrepreneurship.
Yeah,
He's
this
building a
is
city.
beyond. This is
He's
remarkable.
building a whole town.
No,
Yeah. And then he finally built a hospital. Yeah.
Wow.
he literally built an entire like state like at that point, like literally
Yeah.
just an
He was a big developer.
yeah.
Yeah, and he did
Huge.
it all debt-free because he did it
Debt
from every 4 years they would come home and they would travel to their mission churches, to the churches that supported them, and give the reports, and they would raise money. And so he'd say, this is my vision for the next 4 years. We need to build a hospital.
Yeah.
And
People would just
but we need
support
the money.
him.
Yeah. And they
Yeah.
would, yeah,
That's amazing.
yeah.
Yeah. That's what I'm trying to get out of college, debt free.
Well,
That's the goal. That's the goal. That's the goal, y'all. Hey.
anyway, so that's what I was just saying. So that, my inspiration, yeah,
Yeah.
he's
That's
a pretty
amazing.
big one.
He's awesome for that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you so
thank
much
you for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Yes,
Yeah.
we very much enjoyed you and all of the knowledge that you carry.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And like I said, come see us anytime.
No, I will. I for sure will.
Yeah. And if you need one, you can go to the one in U of H if you're already up there. So
Is there one like in you? Oh.
yeah, we're part of a network. So
So
we're
is it
part
like
of
in every university at school?
no,
Or just like
but
specific?
we're part of what's called the Gulf Coast Network.
Oh, okay.
So we're not saying there's thousands of SBDCs. We're in a region called the Gulf Coast Network, and there's actually 13 other. We're one of 13
Okay.
centers from like Jackson to Lufkin, and there's one at Prairie View A&M, and all the way over in Beaumont, and all the places in between.
No, I don't want them. I want you. I'm gonna come to you.
Well, then come see me. I'm
yeah,
happy.
so I'm super excited.
Yeah.
Jennifer Finney, Brazoport Small Business Development Center, y'all. Come see her.
Amazing.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.